What's up, guys, and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to take some time and talk about a topic that's very relative to today's job market, if you can even call it a job market. The general two sentiments around jobs recently have been job hopping and, more recently, job hugging. Job hopping, the concept is like this. Once you feel like you've plateaued at your current role, you strategically position yourself in the job market in order to earn a much higher raise than you would have by staying around and waiting for your yearly performance review at your old company. The statistics on this used to be a little bit better, but generally it's believed that you're able to achieve about an 8 to 10% increase by job hopping in contrast to a 2 to 5% raise from your yearly performance review.
Job hopping statistically gives better raises than raises in wage pay than actually staying and getting natural raises. So you're basically spending endless hours to land a job that you plan on holding for like a year tops, and then switching jobs to a place that's going to hire you for more money because now you have job experience from the previous place. But that's what you got to do. I mean, like, I have a friend that is a coder. Like, he makes pretty good money, made pretty good money out of college doing coding. He's held 4 different jobs in 3 years. Not because he got fired, but because you hold that job, you start working, and then somebody comes out of the blue and goes, hey, we'll hire you for more money. And now you go, well, bye, and then you leave.
There are definitely some pros and cons to job hopping. A lot of people feel like you become untrustworthy in the eyes of any future employer because your resume is going to look like you only ever want to work at a place for about 2 or less years. But the flip side is that a lot of employers are beginning to care much less about this, and as long as you have the skills and proficiencies to do the work, you're generally considered a safe hire. That being said, there are definitely still a good amount of employers that do care about how long you've been at a company, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. But the point I want to make is that in today's day and age, you really need to prioritize what's best for you and your family, and in many cases, job hopping may be just that. Because when times get tough for the companies themselves, they're not necessarily going to value your loyalty to the same degree that you would think. If you've been at company A for about 2 years and you get a recruiting offer from company B and they want to offer you, say, 15% more, and you know that your performance review that's coming up, you're maybe only going to get a maximum of 8%, in today's day and age, it's really a no-brainer. Now, I say no-brainer, but again, you have to take it case by case. Other things you need to consider are things like if company A that you're currently at has a great team you really enjoy working with, or say you have a really short commute and some other logistical aspects make more sense, then it just might make more sense to stay put and not take that higher position. Really, you need to do a cost-benefit analysis along with those other aspects to really see if it's worth it to you personally. One other thing to consider in 2025 at least, is that the statistics I mentioned earlier have shifted quite a bit.
Job hopping to make more money is dead in 2025. According to the latest data from the Wall Street Journal, they report that people who do a lateral job move or a job hop are not making more money than they would. In fact, the raise between the old job and the new job is at a 10-year low. This means if you're looking to just go work for a different company in the same position, you are not going to be able to get the same salary increases you would have got the past 3 to 5 years. Now, one of the big reasons for that is because the job market is completely switched on its head. It's an employer job market, meaning companies have a lot of people applying to jobs, and they know if you don't accept that offer, they will have 3 or 4 other people that will. This means they're totally fine with lowballing you because they know there's no risk to them. Now, my advice has always been the same. When it comes to job hopping, the best way to do it is to stay at a company for 2 to 3 years. The key is to make sure you get a promotion in those 2 to 3 years. If you are simply just going from one company to another company to another company in the same position and not getting any promotions, you will likely not see any big raises, and the data is now backing that up. This trend is going to last as long as the job market stays in the same place that it is right now.
Now, there's also a different kind of job hopping that usually happens to those that are just leaving college or even high school in the first early years of your career, which essentially consists of people who not only job hop, but also industry hop. because they don't really feel like they found their calling yet, per se. And this is actually what happened to me as soon as I graduated college. I took the first job in the industry that was relevant to my degree. Immediately figured out that I didn't want to do anything close to what that first role entailed. And in the coming years, I would kind of industry hop as much as many other young men do. And I was just feeling lost in the world without that really strong sense of purpose or drive. Job hopping also gives you a lot more skills under your belt, but it's at the cost of not necessarily being an expert in any of those skills. We've all heard that saying, jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. But I would like to see the statistics on how hiring managers feel about that quote, because in my opinion, most hiring managers would want you to be highly adept at maybe 3 to 5 skills rather than 10 to 20 that you're only moderately proficient at. Now, this feeling of industry hopping and not really knowing where your place is usually subsides after your early 20s or so. Some call it just growing pains. But some people can still find themselves stuck and will job hop or industry hop for that reason. But I think we're going to see more and more these days is that is actually a bit of a luxury, that feeling. Now that the economy is the way that it is, that luxury is not going to be afforded to everyone nearly as much as it was maybe 8 to 10 years ago. Regardless of the state of the economy, though, it's really important to keep your skills up and retain your employable value over time. But I do want to stress that job hopping is inherently risky these days, especially in today's market. I could easily see a scenario happening where you leave company A to go join company B on promise of a higher salary, and then something happening at company B resulting in mass layoffs, which would then leave you worse off than before you even decided to job hop. So it's a careful line you have to tread. I would say in general, it's probably in most young guys' best interest to at least consider job hopping if they're given a good enough offer, especially when you're close to your performance reviews and if you can kind of feel the vibe in the office and kind of gauge out what you think the raise or bonus structure is going to be for that year. But it's really tough to say these days. I've seen a ton of these videos titled job hugging, where people are clinging on to any sense of security because the rest of the economy seems so up and down. And at the end of the day, a bad job is definitely better than no job in today's world. So much so that it almost seems like a bad job that pays decent, not even well, is a luxury and something to be grateful for. Ideally, though, you should still be able to pull yourself out of a bad situation if you deem it bad enough for you personally and your own personal values. There are always going to be tough times, and during these tough times, there are always going to be people who are able to pull themselves out of a bad situation. And this is not to reverberate that boomer mindset of, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, but it is important to have resilience during times of adversity. You can simultaneously acknowledge that things are pretty bad, but also finding a way to accelerate your quality of life for you and your family. And if job hopping is going to be a tool that you're able to use, I would implore all young men to consider all their options. Because at the end of the day, if you're given an opportunity from a recruiter for a higher salary, in today's day and age, you may not be able to take that risk again down the line. So I wanted to leave off on a bit of a positive note. So I included this little slideshow I found on TikTok of a guy who graduated into a pretty tough job market about a year ago and kind of his journey and where he's at today. I'm curious to hear from you all as well to see if you have any experience with job hopping or job hugging right now, rather. So leave a comment if you have an interesting story. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button for more videos like this. Peace.